Hello, and welcome to the Art of Power with Ashley. Hi, Ashley.
Hello, good afternoon.
Oh my goodness, I am so looking forward to our call today. And we've kind of changed the name for those who've been members with us for the past few weeks. Our last call was called Round Peg Square Hole.
Square, yeah,
I had a little challenge with that. Glad it changed. And now we're calling our call, it's still a panel call on feminine empowerment, and we're calling it the Art of Power. So why is that, Ashley? Why the Art of Power?
So the art of power is really, it's something that's kind of near and dear to me. We talk about feminine empowerment, and really it's about human empowerment, but power comes from, I think there's two pieces really. There's the art piece and there's the power piece. And power comes from knowing who we are, like really truly who we are, and having a deep sense of self, of our value that we bring into the world simply by being ourselves. And it comes from also understanding that there's a uniqueness to all of us. And really power is about being grounded in who we are and being in full expression and allowed to have the thoughts, the emotions, the feelings that we truly want, without regard, without looking for approval, without looking for something outside of ourselves. So I always talk about, once we understand what our power is, it's really accessing our true sense of self, which is one of the rarest senses of all. We have the five senses, but like truly knowing who we are and being in tuned and aligned with that is, I think, one of the greatest human powers. And the art piece of it comes from the fact that it's different for everyone. Right? Art is so interpretive. The process, the journey to connect with that part of ourselves is going to be different for everyone. So there's no science. Well, there are certain steps and of course things you can do to start to evolve and start to uncover it. The art piece is the journey and the uniqueness that each of us has on that journey. So that's where the art of power comes from.
I love that. So I love the name change. And I love as well how you mentioned that, this call is titled Feminine Empowerment, but really it's human empowerment. Doesn't matter, feminine, masculine, male, female. The importance is to just, whatever it is that you identify being more of, to just be aligned with that. And we are going to be targeting a more feminine energy because we're both very feminine. And so our perspectives with Ashley and I is very feminine. And that's one of the things that are very dear to our hearts. And I know for you, Ashley, it's something that's very dear for you. In our last call, you did mention that it hasn't always been like that. I mean, without going too much into detail again, you were in an environment that was very masculine and you thought you had to also be like that in order to achieve, in order to get what you wanted and to have the life that you wanted. And then realize that it was just exhausting. It was, not for you. And you created a total shift and you allowed yourself to be more into that feminine power, into that, developing the art of power, instead of hunting for it. Very masculine like word for me is hunting.
Yes.
And art is more feminine energy for me. So what would you say, why is feminine empowerment important and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think feminine empowerment is important to me because it comes from just knowing who you are. And I know that there's, I don't want to get into like where men and where women have been and make it like men versus women. But there's just been times in our lives as women, the reality, I guess, of the way that the world has been, that men have been the leaders in this modern world. And I think it's actually more of a reconnecting back to the divine feminine that kept the tribes together, that kept the communities together, that were the medicine women, that were the healers, and really just connecting back to that source of ourselves, and recognizing that just living in the flow, living in the creativeness, right? I mean, feminine is all about creativity, and it's all about allowing things to flow. And I just think that from empowering women to remember is more of anything. And I guess you could call it a little bit of unlearning this is how things should be from a masculine or from a society perspective. But it's really just important about remembering the essence of who we are.
I love that. You saying, it's just remembering who we are. And would you say it just makes things a lot easier for you?
It does. It does. And, here's an example. Maybe this will help. Yesterday, I was in a mastermind with some beautiful, brilliant, successful women that I'm part of. And one of the things that came up in that was one woman talking about, like, it was all about emotions and the emotions that she's feeling in this time, and how, oh my gosh, I have to take advantage of this time to build my business, to change and shift, to do this and do that. And it was just like, there was all this heaviness and all this like forcing something to be created. But the thing is, like, for divine feminine, for us to really create, it doesn't come from force. And so, moving from the creation and more going to the emotions, I just wanted to talk with her about, it's not about pushing your emotions away. It's not about changing your state immediately. Like, from a feminine perspective, I want to actually empower women to feel their emotions and recognize that our emotions are trying to tell us something. And that is the strength in females, and frankly in humans, is our ability to feel. And when we feel strong, when we get these sense of feelings in ourselves, whether they're positive or negative, in this case, she was just having a tough time, it's really about like pausing and asking ourselves, like, what is it in me that needs to be heard? Or is there something inside of me that needs to heal? Is there something inside of me that's asking for a connection or compassion or something? But the point is, with, I think, part of the feminine power and why I'm telling this story is it's in acknowledging our emotions, and it's in knowing our emotions, and knowing too that the emotions will pass. I had shared with her that it's almost like a tornado or a storm or a 2-year-old having a tantrum. It's like, if we're feeling anxious, if we're feeling fear, if we're feeling alone, like eventually the storm, the tornado, the 2-year-old, they run out of energy. And then they move right back into the positive, the good, the happy, the whatever it might be. So, I just think that this female aspect is really about acknowledging and welcoming all humans to take a look at what their feelings are and get curious about what's below them, so that it no longer stays buried, that instead we can see what the little girl, what the little boy inside of us needs to hear. And oftentimes it's just comfort and love and compassion. I actually forget how I got onto this story, but it was something I just felt compelled that I needed to share.
Yeah, you were talking about why it's important to you, and you're noticing it not only in your life, but in the lives of other women and other people around you. So it's so beautiful that not only the work that you've done for yourself is impacting, and that's incredible. If you notice that a lot of this work that we're doing, right, not only with this call, but with mankind in general, where we are, creating this safe environment to apply these hacks so that we're thriving in this new normal. And it could be any area of our lives. It will not only impact ourselves, it will also impact those we love. So it's so incredible. So you were talking about, noticing and nurturing yourself as a woman and just listening. What would you say are the things, your top hacks, right, on how to empower yourself as a woman?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. So I would say the main ones is first just understanding, like, awareness of what's actually going on and awareness of the thoughts that you're having, right? So again, as a woman, it's to know what my thoughts are, what my habits or patterns even are in reactions that occur in life. Like, we as humans have all put these together, but it's really that deep self-awareness. And the self-awareness it's a continuous journey that we all go on in our life. But for the hack, for the moment, it's just, I really think it's about presence. And the two things that I use the most to help me with that are meditation, or just simply sitting and observing my thoughts, and journaling. And just having those two things and being more self-aware has helped expand my personal power, if you will. And by expanding that personal power, about having that awareness, I start to notice moments of inner peace. You start to notice, as you become more aware, that those storms and tornadoes and the tantrums happen less and less, or they're a shorter period of time, and we stop ourselves. So we're able to connect to more this place of inner peace and be more in, control of our reactions, of our responses, of how we respond to people, and what meaning we give to things that are happening in our immediate home, but also in the world around us as well. And we then get to decide, like, does this really align for me, or am I just, buying into somebody else's thought, story, emotion, fear, doubt, whatever it might be.
I love that. So having the awareness. So Ashley, if you allow me, I'm going to get a little personal.
Oh, please do, Jessica.
So we're all getting, we're all evolving. We all have different, we're all climbing this ladder, or whatever it is, the visual you want to create. And there's always a next step. Yeah. I love the saying, we're either dying or we're growing. There's no in between.
Yes, totally. I'm with you.
So what is the hack, or the challenge, I would say, that you have been finding lately for yourself, and what have you been doing to support yourself with that?
That's a great question. So the challenge that I have had is, oh my gosh, I think a lot of people have this. I have all this free time, and what am I doing? What am I creating? What am I getting done today? And then at the end of the day, do I feel like I did enough? Do I feel like I accomplished enough? And I still have that pattern that runs through. And so what I realized through this process is I've started to notice that I've been assigning my worth and how good I'm allowing myself to feel based on what I get done during the day. Who do I talk to? What did I create in my business? Did I respond to all my emails? Did I attend all these amazing different Zoom calls that are here, from talking about, twerking to CBD to mindset to, like, it's all across the board, right? I actually got invited to a learn how to twerk thing on Friday. So we'll see how that goes. But what I realized is that, like, my happiness at the end of the day cannot be aligned to how many things I got done. Now, the reality is we do have to do things, right? So pick 3 things. Pick 3 things that if you complete them and you do them and they're all complete at the end of the day, or you make progress on them, that you're going to feel good. Don't have a whole running list of the 700 things that you thought of that you haven't done for the last year, 5 years, that now we're all quarantined, you got to get it all done, right? That's not reality. That's not setting yourself up for success. And that's what we want to do. We want to set ourselves up for success. We want to set ourselves up for wins and celebrations. So what are the 3 things that I'm going to be really excited about at the end of the day that I complete? And then celebrate them. Now, the other thing that I will say is, make sure you insert somewhere in there some sort of pleasure. Yes, the celebration at the end of the day, but something that's going to bring you pleasure, whether it is having the smoothie that you want, or watching the Netflix show, or asking your partner to give you a massage, just something to find some pleasure, because I think we are in a world that is starved for that. So 3 things, celebrate those 3 things, and 1 thing of pleasure. That's what I would say.
I love it. What's your thing of pleasure? I want to know.
Oh gosh. I have so many. So it can go across the board. I actually created a fun little 30-day thing for this, but it can start with just literally, like, being present with what you eat. So I love watermelon. So I preemptively bought it. It's not quite in season yet, but I bought it, and just eating it, like the thought of like biting down into it, tasting the juice because it's so juicy, feeling it all in your mouth, and like feeling how my body responds to it, like what it tastes like on all my different taste buds. Like that's one end of the pleasure spectrum. Then the other end of the pleasure spectrum might be the dancing. It might be flowing in yoga. It might be asking for that massage. That sometimes, like, there's those. And then of course there's like the erotic bedroom pleasure, which is a whole, like, on the other end of the spectrum. And so the point of me sharing all of them is that we are creative beings and we are curious beings. So, and we are all about, we have five senses for a reason. And the sixth sense is your sense of self, right? Or your intuition. So the seventh sense actually would be your sense of self. But we use those senses. Like that's where pleasure comes from. And we actually had some of this conversation yesterday, now that I think about it, with some of the women on my mastermind. And that is also part of like the feminine power, is our senses, and smelling the flowers, like or smelling the essential oil you have in your home, or candles, or whatever it is. It's like, yeah, exactly. You have my favorite orchids, and you have a candle, and then you have, it looks like some what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the name of the flowers.
Oh, I forget the name. It's like,
yeah, they're succulents. They're like in the succulent family, right? Like kind of the ones I have there. But it's all in the pleasure really comes from utilizing our five senses and bringing in our curiosity and noticing, like, how does your body respond? Does it get all electric and tingly? Does it just feel calm and peaceful? Do you feel like energy running through your body? Do you notice your shoulders just loosen down, or the tension drop from your jaw? I mean, there's so much that can come from it, and so many different ways that we can get it.
And it can easily be taken for granted, I feel. Like the fact of lighting a candle, I've gotten in the habit of doing it, and the smell, I love the smell, and I get like soy candles, whatever it is, with these essential oils, and it really makes a big difference. Whereas before, I just like it because it's pretty. I didn't realize how it could actually change my energy, my feminine energy.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And you got it because it's pretty. So that's your sense of sight. And then you started to become more aware of what else the candle's presence brought to your life. It started to ignite your senses, your smell. And then from that smell, all of a sudden the feeling that you have just was much more calm. So it's, again, just being present and being aware of something that small that some people might think is insignificant, but it's totally changed, made a shift for you in your office there and your space.
Oh my goodness. So I have this like feeling that somebody watching us who hasn't really been in her feminine flow, or even somebody masculine who doesn't understand the feminine flow or isn't in tune, might be going like, oh my gosh, like woo woo ha ha. And I feel like maybe a part of me, or a part of all of us, or maybe you in the past, would have listened to all this and have judgments around it. Which brings me to kind of my next question, which is, this one's a loaded one too. Like this is a heavy one. We're having an interesting session today. I'm bringing out all the hard ones. And it's the difference between, I don't know if it's the difference, or I guess one of my first question, it's a two-part question, is what is the difference between feminine and feminism? Like the modern feminism movement, and are we killing femininity as women?
That is a very loaded question with so much to go on. So I would say feminine energy, it's really about like our being and our acceptance, and it's about just feeling excited and happiness and flow. Feminine is really about like receiving and effortlessness and following our intuition and doing what feels good, serving in the community, lifting others up, holding space for people, bringing joy and love. And that's the feminine energy. And I think that the point when people get into this like feminine versus feminism movement, I think the point that I want to stop and make is that it's actually about energy that we all have. We all have feminine energy, we all have masculine energy, and it's really which one are you leading with? And the feminine movement of today, I will be honest, I have not gotten really into it. I have not really kept up on the details of it. So I don't want to speak out of turn there. I will just say, I think where some of us women have gotten lost is that we feel like we have to act like men, be like men, so that we will get paid, so that we will get promoted, so that we will be respected. And what that looks like is, it's not right or wrong. It's just about knowing when to move from the flow and all the way I described the feminine before, from the masculine. And we do need to get stuff done. And believe me, like in my cybersecurity days, like I was in the masculine and it helped me get stuff done and I was really successful, but I didn't know where and when to sort of make that shift to kind of calibrate. It was always masculine, masculine, masculine. And so I was forcing, I was pushing, it was effort, it was strategy, it was trying to dominate, right? Dominate the energy of the room, dominate a conversation, make sure that the men that I was working around like heard me. And it was hustle. And it was all about like being in the doing and problem solving. And that's great. But again, it's all about balance and the yin and the yang, and just understanding like what feels more natural to you and what does it call forth in your relationships, in your home, in your work, in your friendships. Like what way of being, what feminine or masculine or some combination of the both brings you that sense of inner peace, just like makes you feel calm and that feels real and true and authentic to you. Because it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. It's really about like connecting back in here to what feels right for you.
I think that's so beautiful. And I love how you, in such a beautiful feminine way, named it, so how some may have lost their way.
Yeah.
Because of maybe society, of norms or expectations, or what we've been taught, right? What we've been taught growing up. And I think I talked about, did I talk about that story when we were all women in a circle last week, right? When I was saying, well, it wasn't last week, I spoke about it last week. And I said something very like, I just want to be home, have kids, and that's it. And, you know, be a homemaker. And one of the women went, oh, and we're good friends now. There's really, like, we're really good friends. It's like, oh, you make me want to throw up.
And yet that's your authentic truth and what you desire. And that's her authentic truth and what she doesn't desire.
Yes and no. So I would challenge that, because coming to know a little further, I wouldn't say maybe that specific woman, but a lot of the women that were in that group are searching for that. They are searching to allow themselves, maybe not necessarily the fact of saying, I want to be a homemaker, right? Maybe they just want to be career women too. But what I meant is having that vulnerability, being in that feminine flow, and not being overly cautious about what I say, and controlling, right? I think that control, I don't know, what do you think? Control is really not a feminine energy.
Yeah, I would say it's more of a masculine energy, and vulnerability, I actually think is the connection point between the two of them. And this is the first time that I've said this or thought that, but I think that it is. It's the vulnerability and the realness and the trust in who you are, to allow yourself to be seen, to be heard, to be understood, whether you're in the feminine or the masculine, or to weave back and forth between the two of them. And it really just the vulnerability to show up as you are. That's truly it. And I mean, Brene Brown also looks at vulnerability in another way too, and she's brilliant at that. But yeah, you're spot on. It's the vulnerability. And from a humanity standpoint, if we could all be more vulnerable, like how much more connected would we be? How much more love would there be, and opportunity and community and hope, versus this fear, uncertainty, and doubt that we are in and experiencing.
100%. So yes, that's why I feel like even though the other women were in that energy, come now knowing them better over the years, turns out there was a hidden part of them that really was craving that. Right?
Which
We
is
don't allow
amazing that
ourselves
you
to
open
go
the
there.
door. Right. Right. You open the door for them to go there by going there yourself.
I love you mentioned Brene Brown, The Power of Vulnerability. For those who have not seen, I think it was I listened to it as an audiobook, but I think it's actually a book, right? The Power of Vulnerability. And talking about books, actually, that brings me to my next question. What are your favorite books?
So good. So good. I have so many, but I have like that. I mean, you just see like a tiny little shelf there, but I've got a few more down and a stack over there that I'm either reading or rereading. My favorite books are The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And then he has two other ones. One of them is The Mastery of Love and Power. Oh, I'm forgetting the other one. There's another one that he has too. I also love The Untethered Soul. That one is understanding and really taking a look at the voices and the voice and the narrative we have in our head and who that is. I don't know. Have you read the book?
Oh, I've read the Four Agreements.
Okay.
But I haven't read the others.
Yeah, The Untethered Soul is a beautiful spiritual consciousness sort of awakening book that totally shift the paradigm and the way in which I see humans and I see the world. So those would be two of my favorites. And then I think the third one, I really like Marianne Williamson's A Return to Love. You can just open that book to any page and there will be something brilliant in there that will just hit home and really speak to you. So I would say those are my three favorites that off the top of my head.
Amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
I can't believe what time it is. I let myself just get carried away. I always have such an incredible time with you, Ashley. Thank you so much. And today's questions were a little hard.
I like it. I appreciate it. It really gives me pause to think, right? And that's really beautiful too, is to have the questions that allow me to think and allow my mind to grow. And that's the same for all of us, right? We, like you said before, we're either growing or we're dying. So I want to keep growing.
I love that. I love the energy and the attitude. So you heard Ashley, it's a challenge. Head on over www.hackmankind.com. Make sure to tune in every week. We are every Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern time, our call with Ashley on the Art of Power, Feminine Empowerment Call, where you can ask Ashley all your questions. You can come in and challenge her to think and to see and dig in and support you, and or just show up and have a coffee while you're listening in. We are here for you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you on Facebook. Thank you for those who are on the Zoom call. Thank you for your questions. Oh, I cannot wait for our next call. Any final thoughts, Ashley, before we wrap up?
I just want to say thank you to you, Jessica, and thank you to the whole community for those who watch this as a recording as well. And just, just be aware. Just be aware of your thoughts and choose the ones that bring you inner peace. That is the thing that I could say is what choice will bring me inner peace right now. So that's what I'll leave you with until next week.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you for watching. Thanks for joining our mission to confront fear and misinformation head on, replace them with opportunity, hope, and clarity, which Ashley has helped us do so much, providing contents and tools for us to take action on our day-to-day life. And as always, we have incredible calls every single day. And if you might think, okay, these concepts are great, but how do I apply them? How do I overcome challenges while I apply them? We have support calls all on our members only zone, which right now is still free of access. We're offering the first 1,000 members free access at www.hackmankind.com. And you'll head on over there and join our support calls, our panel calls, our fitness hacks, so much content for you. And also, please join our Facebook group, Hack Mankind Tribe. We have a daily challenge for you. We're here for you, supporting you, and thank you for being here, watching this video. And we will definitely see you next week with Ashley on the art of power. Thank you so
Thank
much, guys. Thank
you.
you,
Take
Ashley.
care.
Take
Bye,
care.
Jessica.
Bye.
Bye.